disclaimer. I realize that I have two big posts and I often read them from the screen to allow you guys to get the knowledge about my spinal cord injury and the many hardships that people with a spinal cord injury face. And I was doing it by a 26-letter day challenge, and I also do want to apologize. I said 27, but my brain was fried. There are actually 26 letters in the alphabet, so there are 26 letters. I am doing a 4-part series. It is celebrating my 4-year anniversary of a spinal cord injury by sharing letters that have a meaning behind them, issues I face and other people face. There will be 4 parts or 5 parts in total, and each of them will contain around 6 to 7 letters or 8. If it's great, it's going to contain 10. These will be uploaded in the last days of September. The first one is going to be September 26th. The second one is going to be September 27th. The third one is going to be September 28th. The fourth one is going to be September 29th. And the last one, maybe, if that one gets out, is going to be on the last day of September. So thank you all so much for celebrating Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month with me by indulging into these videos, by hearing my thoughts and my stories about living with a spinal cord injury. So I appreciate it. It is day 7 of sharing an alphabet letter that correlates to one problem out of the several that people with a spinal cord injury go through. The reason I'm sharing this with you all is because it's Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. This is a very important month to me, and I can imagine several others. Many people, after breaking their neck or back, have to go through their life all over again, relearning a lot of already grasped skills beforehand. Spinal cord injury is scary and can change people's perspectives on how simple tasks can take every ounce of strength we've gained. Today is letter G. The letter G stands for going home. Going home after the ICU. After over 400 days in the hospital and 7 long months in rehab, I finally came home. I had just regained the use of my thumb, a small victory on the outside, but monumental to me. But home didn't feel like home right away. It was unfamiliar, scary, and overwhelming. I had survived something massive, but survival came with scars, physical, emotional, and mental. The trauma ran deep. Showers became a particular kind of hell. With no sensation in parts of my body, nerve pain ruled over my daily routines. It didn't just hurt, it burned. My body screamed while my voice stayed silent. After 15 months on a ventilator, my breathing was shallow, my voice weak. It was hard to speak, and even harder to make myself understood. I was drowning in my own mind, with no easy way to say what I was feeling. I struggled in silence. I wanted so badly to tell my husband, Matthew, how much I appreciated him. I saw how hard he worked, how much he sacrificed, and how deeply he cared. But my mental health held me hostage. I was trapped in my own thoughts, grief, shame, fear, and though the gratitude was real, it rarely made it out of my mouth. I felt like a burden. I felt like he deserved someone stronger. It's difficult to put into words exactly how it feels to be a whole new person in the same world. It feels alienating, lonely, and confusing, and it feels the way despite having had a hugely supportive community and an awesome group of friends who would put effort into including me into things. It feels like you're lost in your own home because you're trying to do things you're used to, but no longer can. It feels like you don't quite belong anymore. Coming home should have felt like a relief, but it was a new kind of challenge, emotionally brutal, confusing, and lonely. Unfortunately, those feelings lingered for years, and I largely blame myself. I spent so long trying to regenerate myself into a world that was no longer for me. Instead of seeking out new spaces where I felt like I belonged, it took years, actually, before I gave myself that opportunity. And looking back, I'd say that was when everything changed for me. And yet, now over 2 years later, I can finally breathe in a different way, not just physically, but emotionally. I feel the safety of my home. I feel the love that's always been here. And I can say this: I am deeply, endlessly grateful to Matthew, my husband, whose strength carried us through, to Emmy, my wife, whose love gave me hope, to my family who stood by my side even when I couldn't stand myself. You stayed, you believed, you loved me through the worst. And now, even though the past still haunts me at times, I no longer live in it. I live here in a home filled with love, comfort, and safety. Thank you for helping me come back, not just to a house, but to life. But we each have our own journey. If there's someone in your community who has just returned home after life-changing circumstances, understand that they may be having feelings like these, and it's likely they could use an ally, for even though I had my struggles, I know it would have been way more challenging without my community helping lift me and my family up. That's letter 7 of 27. See y'all for letter H. It is day 8 of sharing an alphabet letter that correlates to one problem out of the several that people with a spinal cord injury go through. The reason I'm sharing this with you all is because it's Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. This is a very important month to me, and I can imagine several others. Many people, after breaking their neck or back, have to go through their life all over again, relearning a lot of already grasped skills beforehand. Spinal cord injury is scary and can change people's perspectives on how simple tasks can take every ounce of strength we've gained. Today is letter H. The letter H stands for How to Drive with an SCI. I'll be specifically going into my wife's perspective because of my injury is too high up for me to drive. My wife is a C5, C6 quadriplegic, and today she can drive a car using only her arms and hands. But this didn't happen overnight. There was a long, challenging process behind it. She was injured in February 2024 and spent her first few days ventilated. Once she woke up, she began a 5-month rehabilitation journey. During that time, she had to come to terms with many aspects of her injury. One of the most difficult was understanding the limits of her hand function. Because she has no finger movement and cannot feel her hands, she had to learn how to do things using tenodesis, a technique that allows some grip by moving the wrist. Even simple tasks like holding an object or self-catheterizing became complex, and she needed help with things many people take for granted. One of the most important goals during rehab was learning how to drive. I'm severely disabled myself and unable to move any of my limbs, so it became crucial for our independence that she could eventually get behind the wheel. But we weren't rushing. It was always about safety, progress, and patience. We understood that recovery after spinal cord injury takes time and comes in steps. After many months of hard work and determination, my wife finally got back on the road. It was a huge milestone, not just for her physically, but emotionally for both of us. It reminded us that despite the obstacles, so much is still possible. She now drives using a tri-pin steering device, which lets her use her full arm to turn the wheel, along with hand controls for the gas and brake. This setup gives her the independence and control she worked so hard to regain. Recovery after an SCI is never just physical. It's emotional, mental, and deeply personal. There are frustrations, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But when you have the right support system and refuse to give up, even the smallest victories can feel massive. Driving again wasn't just about transportation, it was about freedom, confidence, and reclaiming a part of life we weren't sure we'd get back. That's letter 8 of 27. See you for letter I. Is day 9 of sharing an alphabet letter that correlates to one problem out of the several that people with a spinal cord injury go through. The reason I'm sharing this with you all is because it's Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. This is a very important month to me, and I can imagine several others. Many people, after breaking their neck or back, have to go through their life all over again, relearning a lot of already grasped skills beforehand. Spinal cord injury is scary and can change people's perspectives on how simple tasks can take every ounce of strength we've gained. Today is letter I. I is for intimacy. It was just me and Emmy on the balcony. It was Emmy's birthday. Since she hadn't seen her dad in a while, I set up a video message from her dad to tell her happy birthday. Finally, I could feel the vibes. It was time. Let me back you up. When I think about intimacy, it's not just about the physical connection. It's about the quiet, tender moments that make love feel alive. My journey with intimacy changed drastically over time, especially after becoming disabled. But it never disappeared. In fact, in many ways, it deepened. With Matthew, my husband. Back in 2019, when Matthew and I first started dating, I was able-bodied. I could initiate intimacy freely, without hesitation. We built something beautiful. Our connection, our closeness, it all felt so natural. Fast forward to barely a year into our marriage, and everything changed. I suffered a spinal cord injury at my C3, and suddenly the world felt different. I wasn't just grieving my independence. I was grieving the ability to connect physically the way I used to. At first, it was crushing. I didn't know how to express love or closeness anymore, at least not in the way I had known. But weirdly, beautifully, something unexpected happened. Through the caregiving moments, Matthew and I started to rediscover intimacy. We discovered intimacy in little care moments all through the day, whether it was a transfer out of my chair where we end up in a laughing heap on the bed. While he helped me shower, we'd steal kisses, sometimes just to save water as we joke, while dressing me in bed. Sometimes it would lead to a different kind of closeness. If you know, you know. Fortunately, Matthew knew just how to handle my vulnerability, and intimacy quickly became connection. It wasn't always grand or planned, but those small fleeting moments became everything. We learned how to cherish intimacy in new ways. It wasn't about performance anymore. It was about presence, connection, and mutual care. We've never found a reason to set boundaries between caregiver and partner, and by doing so have allowed tons of space for intimacy in our marriage. We found each other again in the in-between moments, and that has made all the difference. With Emmy, my wife. My story with Emmy starts in a different chapter of my life. By the time she came into it, I was already disabled. She never knew me as able-bodied, yet her love never wavered. We began dating in February of 2023, right after I had mostly recovered from the initial chaos of my injury. One of the most vivid memories with Emmy happened on her birthday that May. I had noticed she often talked about missing her dad. I wanted to do something special, something meaningful. So I reached out to her father, and after a long, heartfelt conversation, I convinced him to record a birthday message for her. The night I found Emmy standing on the balcony, bathed in moonlight, her blue eyes sparkling. She looked ethereal, so beautiful it made me nervous. I rolled forward, heart pounding, and quietly said, "Happy birthday, love." She turned with a sleepy, soft smile. We chatted for a while, just enjoying each other's company, and then I said, "Hey, can you grab your phone from my lap?" She didn't know I had the video ready to go. I gave her my passcode, and as she opened the phone, the message began to play. Her father's voice came through. "Hi, sweetie. Happy birthday. I know we haven't talked for a bit, but I want you to know I love you so very much. I hope your birthday is amazing." Tears welled up in her eyes as she turned to me, her voice trembling. "You are so amazing," she said, and then leaned in to kiss me. That kiss, it felt like something out of a dream. My heart was overflowing and tears streamed down my face too. The moment sparked something powerful between us. Since then, our intimacy has blossomed, physical, emotional, and spiritual. I have always held that memory among the most intimate of my life. A kiss, but so much more. I also think of the first look on our wedding day. Then, when we had decided to wait to kiss at the altar, taking her in as my bride for the first time was still enough to overflow my heart. I knew I yearned for intimacy, but man, was there some insecurity and fear to overcome. Just going on a first date by itself requires a lot of vulnerability. You never know what the date holds, and oftentimes it entailed sharing details about my injury and disability, which feels very intimate in itself. Dating with a disability can be hard, but if I could give any advice, it would be to take time to learn your value as a person. Don't just learn it, though embrace it. Understand that you can bring joy to someone's world just as they will bring it to yours. The same goes for love, compassion, support, empathy. We're all looking for those things, and we can all provide it if we choose so. That's letter 9 of 27. See you for letter J. It is day 10 of sharing an alphabet letter that correlates to one problem out of the several that people with a spinal cord injury go through. The reason I'm sharing this with you all is because it's Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. This is a very important month to me, and I can imagine several others. Many people, after breaking their neck or back, have to go through their life all over again, relearning a lot of already grasped skills beforehand. Spinal cord injury is scary and can change people's perspectives on how simple tasks can take every ounce of strength we've gained. Today is letter J. J is for jealousy. Jealousy is one of the most difficult and often unspoken emotions that can arise after a spinal cord injury. It hits hard not just because of what's been lost, but because of what's still all around you. When you live in a world built for able-bodied people, reminders of your former life are everywhere. The result? You're constantly confronted with what you can't do and what you used to do and what others around you can still do. As a see-through quadriplegic, I've been paralyzed for 4 years. I haven't moved a single limb in that time. I spent 7 grueling months in rehab, pushed myself hard, and tried everything to wean off a ventilator, but I'm still dependent on it. That reality alone brings its own weight. But on top of that, I share my life with someone I love deeply, my wife, who is a C5, C6 quadriplegic. She's been injured for just a year, and she can move her arms, she can work out, breathe on her own, and engage with the world in ways I cannot. And I'll be honest, that makes me jealous. Jealous that she can hug me without help. Jealous that she can work out when I can't scratch my own face. Jealous that she can live with a level of independence that I fought for and couldn't reach. That jealousy slowly gave way to something darker, resentment. I started to resent life itself. The memories of who I once was, being active, playing basketball, holding someone's hand without needing help, were constant echoes in my mind. And when you want your old life back so badly and can't get it, it can feel like you're trapped, not just in your body, but in your emotions too. Even now, years into my injury, I still feel jealous at times, watching others play sports, seeing couples interact with simple gestures I can't do. Those moments still hit hard. But here's what I've learned after a lot of therapy and even more soul searching. You can feel jealous without letting it define you. I've learned to acknowledge my jealousy, to sit with it, to ask myself, Where is this coming from? Is it frustration? Is it insecurity? Is it grief? The answer is usually all of the above. But acknowledgement is the first step to healing, and the most powerful antidote I found is gratitude. I'm grateful for the mobility devices that help me engage with the world in new ways. I'm grateful for the love of a partner who gives me 1,000 reasons to smile every day. Gratitude doesn't erase the pain, but it gives it context. It helps shift the focus from what I've lost to what I still have, and what I've gained in strength, perspective, and resilience. To anyone else out there wrestling with jealousy after SCI, you are not broken, you are human. These emotions are heavy and complex and completely valid, but you don't have to carry them alone. Ask yourself the hard questions, reach out for support, and know that there is never shame in seeking therapy or asking for help. Jealousy is a signal. It's telling you something about what you value and what you long for. Use it as a guide, not as a weight. You can live a meaningful, connected, joyful life even with these emotions alongside you, just like I'm learning to do. That's letter 10 of 27. See you for letter K. Is day 11 of sharing an alphabet letter that correlates to one problem out of the several that people with a spinal cord injury go through. The reason I'm sharing this with you all is because it's Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. This is a very important month to me, and I can imagine several others. Many people after breaking their neck or back have to go through their life all over again, relearning a lot of already grasped skills beforehand. Spinal cord injury is scary and can change people's perspectives on how simple tasks can take every ounce of strength we've gained. Today is letter K. Kids and spinal cord injury. Why it's a taboo topic, but shouldn't be. Let's talk about something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough in the spinal cord injury SCI community: kids. For many of us living with SCI, the topic of having children can feel deeply personal, incredibly complex, and let's be real, taboo. Why? Because it brings up questions that society often isn't comfortable facing, especially when disability and sexuality intersect. I'm a C3 quadriplegic and have been paralyzed for 4 years. I have the male anatomy, so the topic of reproduction brings up a lot of medical, emotional layers for me. Some of the most common questions people with SCI face are: can I ejaculate? Can I produce sperm? Can I have sex? Will I ever be able to have kids? These are valid questions, and they often come up quietly behind closed doors, because most people don't talk about them out loud. My partner Matthew and I tried for kids. We went through testing, and let's just say the sperm count was extremely low. That was tough to hear. It's a hard moment when science meets hope, but thankfully there are options for men with SCI like penile vibrator stimulation (PVS), electroejaculation (EEJ), in vitro fertilization (IVF) with ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection, testicular sperm extraction (TESE), a surgical procedure where sperm is retrieved directly from the testicles. So yes, even when ejaculation or sperm production is impacted, there is still hope. Eventually, we chose adoption, and we love our family, but please don't ever say you can just adopt. Yes, adoption is a beautiful path, but it's also a massive emotional, financial, and mental commitment. And for many of us, infertility is a painful battle. Saying just adopt minimizes that pain. It skips the part where we grieve. It skips the real work of getting your heart ready for adoption in the first place. And let's not forget, many kids in foster care have trauma of their own, which requires thoughtful and informed parenting. What we couldn't send. Unsolicited advice: maybe you should try. Just relax. Minimizing feelings. Don't worry, it'll happen when you least expect it. At least you know you can get pregnant. Ouch. Blame disguised as care. Maybe you're too stressed. You're probably doing it wrong. Don't worry, you'll be able to have a kid one day. All of these comments might come from a place of kindness, but they don't help. In fact, they can feel dehumanizing, like this is somehow our fault, as if we haven't already tried everything. It hurts. What we loved hearing instead: reminders we aren't alone. Simple text, quiet solidarity, just being there. Validating our feelings. I can only imagine how hard it's been. It's okay to feel hurt and sad. Practical support. Bring over a meal, help with errands. These little acts, they mean everything. Though this has been our journey, we know so many others in the SCI world who've had kids biologically, through surrogacy, through fostering, through adoption. Having a spinal cord injury doesn't mean you can't have a family. It might just look a little different, and that's okay. It's not easy, it's expensive, taxing, mentally, emotionally, and physically, but it's possible. So if you're living with SCI and dream of parenthood, hear this loud and clear. Your dream is valid, you are not broken, you are not alone. And if you're currently walking through infertility, our hearts are with you, we see you, and we love you. It is day 12 of sharing an alphabet letter that correlates to one problem out of the several that people with a spinal cord injury go through. The reason I'm sharing this with you all is because it's Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. This is a very important month to me, and I can imagine several others. Many people after breaking their neck or back have to go through their life all over again, relearning a lot of already grasped skills beforehand. Spinal cord injury is scary and can change people's perspectives on how simple tasks can take every ounce of strength we've gained. Today is letter L. L is for the loss of temperature regulation, one of the most dangerous challenges of SCI. Of all the things I didn't know about spinal cord injuries, SCI, the inability to regulate my body temperature was probably the most surprising, and is still one of the most difficult parts of daily life. Most people think of sweating as something annoying, sticky, uncomfortable, or embarrassing, but what many don't realize is that sweating is a lifesaver. It's our body's natural way of cooling itself down. Without the ability to sweat, you can't cool down. Without the ability to shiver or constrict/dilate blood vessels properly, you also can't warm up. And for people with high-level SCIs like mine, C3, this isn't just inconvenient, it's life-threatening. The danger of overheating. Because of my injury, I don't sweat below the level of my injury. That means I can't effectively release heat, and I'm at risk of overheating and heat stroke, even in situations where others might just be mildly uncomfortable. Let me give you an example. We went to see an amazing live-action Shakespeare play. I was genuinely excited. It had music, actors jumping around, and that kind of magic that really comes to life on stage. But it was April, and the temperature had hit 90 degrees with thick humidity. For someone like me, that's a dangerous situation. Despite sitting in the shade, going early in the morning when it's relatively cooler, and doing everything possible, cold water bottles, neck fans on full blast, spraying water on my body to stimulate sweating, it wasn't enough. After an hour, I felt myself overheating badly. I was hardly sweating, I became dizzy, weak, and was dangerously close to losing consciousness. And even though I wanted to stay and enjoy the show, the reality is I was in serious danger and the heat had won. It's incredibly frustrating not to be able to enjoy something fully. Not because you don't want to, but because your body won't let you. But it's not just the heat. The temperature pendulum swings both ways. I've had moments where I got so cold that my body started shivering uncontrollably. Not the kind of shivering you can shake off with a blanket, but deep bone-chilling tremors that make you completely tense and non-functional. My go-to emergency strategies? Scalding hot showers, bundling near fireplaces, 30 plus minutes of trying to warm up, and sometimes that's still not enough. For able-bodied individuals, the body does a remarkable job at maintaining a safe internal temperature, and it does this by sweating to release heat, shivering to generate warmth, blood vessel dilation to cool down, blood vessel constriction to retain heat. For those of us with SCI, those mechanisms don't function properly, below our level of injury. That means we don't sweat or sweat very little. Our blood vessels don't respond normally to temperature changes. We can't rely on shivering to warm up. We often don't feel the warning signs like others do. The result? We have to think for our bodies, constantly preparing for weather and environmental changes that could literally be fatal if ignored. This is why awareness matters. Temperature regulation issues and SCI aren't talked about nearly enough, but they are real daily challenges that require vigilance, preparation, and support. Whether it's carrying cooling gear, planning activities around weather, or being willing to call it quits early for safety, it's not optional, it's survival. If you're someone with SCI or you know and love someone with one, please take temperature regulation seriously because the consequences of not doing so can be devastating. That's letter 12 of 27. See you for letter M.